Hello and welcome back to Der Dilettant. Today I want to showcase what I've been up to in the last 1 or 2 days with the Chronomancer. That's actually, I made this build especially for mapping, and why he is so awesome at mapping you can see in this breach map. So the whole screen evaporates with chaos damage because of my contagion that spreads from mob to mob to mob. So when there's a lot of mob density, this can clean a lot of stuff very quickly. And you can see the gas clouds killing everything from this ritual nearly instantaneously. It pops up, it dies immediately. And everything off screen, you can't see it, but here you see the corpses. It also died because the contagion spread the poisonous gases all around and killed everything in this whole area without me even being there. So it killed everything 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 screens away. And I can just go through and pick up the breach splinters here. And yeah, you know, that's really, that's exactly what I wanted to build. But there was one issue with this build which I had to fix, and I had a really tough time actually doing it. That was bosses. So the first 2 times I tried a citadel with this character, with this build. This happened to me at Germanra, and everyone who played against Germanra knows he has 1 or 2 attacks that deal quite a bit of damage. If you're uncareful, this can happen to you. So I probably would have been able to kill him if I had played more careful. It's more a skill issue than being the build being super bad. Same happened to me here at Geonor. That this is a map where I actually didn't regain my energy shield any quickly, so I was out of energy shield, and then I died. Then I really put my mind to it to try to maximize the damage against bosses somehow, and I got him to work. And this is me fighting the breach boss for the first time with this character, and it works amazingly. So what have I done? Yeah, let's get into it and check out all the changes that I've made. So a quick summary on how the build works. So my when the monster enters my presence, there's a few things that already happened from the beginning. So the first thing that happens is they will enter our temporal chains and despair area. So this blasphemy will make them slower, and also reduce their chaos resistance. So they enter my presence and they will get this blasphemy debuff or curse, and then they have this curse on, and then I can hexblast them for most of the time. It just one-shots them and they will get instantly deleted. So once there's a corpse, the corpse will decompose because of my stink boots, the corpse weight boots. This is what makes this whole build kind of work. And also the one downside is that it only has 10 increased movement speed, which means it's quite slow to walk around. So I actually started using a shield in the offhand, so I can actually map faster with a shield charge. But yeah, so we have the decompose that happens once there's bodies on the grounds, which means we can stack up to 3 different poisons because of comorbidity, and also because of my skill tree, where we go up to this area here. We get, I think this one is the one, targets can be affected by 1 or more poisons. So then the poison spreads from this mob and will start to go around, and then all the mobs around it will get a lot of damage. And why is it so much damage? Because this one here deals damage to compared to or based on the corpse's maximum life. So 41% is a lot. 41% is a lot, and that's the base chaos damage. And we can scale this chaos damage up, and I've done some testing on this. Initially I thought spell damage would actually increase this, but it doesn't. So chaos damage does increase this, and I think gain chaos damage as well. But what I've done then is basically just increasing the chaos damage as much as I could. But yeah, so this is what happens. They will gain this chaos damage dot, and everything around which will be in this chaos damage, in this gas bubble, will die very quickly. And then what we need to do is wait for another mob to enter the gas cloud. Usually that's what I do usually. And then I cast Contagion on them. And the contagion does the following. Afflicts a single enemy with a debuff that deals chaos damage over time. If the enemy dies while affected by contagion, it and all other chaos damage over time debuffs spread to nearby enemies and refresh their durations. Which means the damage dots they get, the gas, poison dots they get from this, which usually is for 2 seconds depending on your skill duration, but the dots they get from this, and they can be up to 3 of them, which they get from different kind of corpses, they will then start to very quickly spread these to other enemies very, very quickly, because they will just die nearly instantaneously, and then they will spread these curses again to the next mob, also refreshing their duration. So that will just create this chain reaction of really vaporizing the enemies. And this only works, or works the best, if the enemies are killed nearly instantaneously. And obviously I need the corpses, and if I don't have the corpses, I can go to my offhand here, and then I will use my own minions. With sacrifice, I will kill my skeletal brutes, and I actually managed to get these to 40,000 life, so 40% of that is 16,000 base chaos damage. And as we saw in the last clip, we did around, I think that was 6.5 million damage in 15 seconds, which equates to around 400,000 chaos damage per second, I believe. So that's because we kill our skeletal brutes with 40,000 HP, which will net us 16,000 base damage times 3, and then everything chaos damage wise gets added on top. So we have also other things like poison duration just adds duration, and another, yeah, this one gives more poison damage because of the plague. And then we have magnitude of poison. Magnitude of poison also increases the damage. It's just another multiplicator. So this one is actually also quite huge. I actually changed all my jewels from chaos damage and area effect to more magnitude of poison and more magnitude of ailments, because that actually increased the DPS way more. And then also, yeah, dealing more damage with hits and ailments obviously always is better. And then we could actually slot in another, but I didn't even get this far to optimize everything. But yeah, this is basically how this build works. And now let's get into the nitty-gritty details of what actually I started to improve to also make it viable to kill bosses. So let's go into this skill tree. So I've done, as I said, I've done a lot of testing, and let's pull up my little charts here. I did some poison damage testing, and I tested it without anything. I did around 3,000 damage. I did it with plus spell damage. I did around 3,000 damage. I did it with Archmage. I wanted to see if Archmage actually has an effect on it, and it did not change anything. I didn't know exactly how it worked, so I was just testing it. And then I did it with plus chaos damage, and that actually increased the damage output quite a bit. And then I did it with plus chaos damage and ailment effect, and that actually also increased the damage to quite a bit. So initially it was around 3,000 damage per duration per 2 seconds, and then in the end it was around 20,000 damage per duration, and we actually increased it even more with all my gear, with all my skills. And then in the end I also tested faster skill 30%, which decreased the overall damage, and then we did longer skill as well, which increased the overall damage. So also increases of skill effects will also increase the maximum damage, but then I most of the time don't want the skill effect duration, because they are obviously in a gas cloud, and then the mobs die instantaneously, or they are in the cloud, so this will just be reset all the time. But what I then sat down and did was the following. I checked everything, and I thought, how can I do this that I actually deal the most damage to bosses when I need to, and I get like still the nice mapping with the nice area of effect, so everything spreads around as much as possible. And I went back and went to the weapon sets, and so I put in weapon set 1, I put everything that increases my area of effect. So when I go to weapon set 1, my area of effect spells here get a lot of area of effect, which means my contagion will be more contagious. I know it sounds stupid, but yeah, so this spread radius is what I want to really get a lot of, as much as possible, really. And the problem is I actually kind of had to go away from area of effect jewels because I just wanted to increase the damage so much more. So all of my jewels are now increased chaos damage and then increased magnitude of ailment. And then I sometimes have stun effect or increased cast speed on it. But mostly I cared about increased magnitude of ailments and increased magnitude of poison you inflict. And also what doesn't hurt really is increased chaos damage. So that's something I have as well sometimes. But yeah, I just went full damage as much as possible on all of these jewels, and you can see I still don't have the unique jewels or anything. This is just really normal stuff you can get for like 10-20 exalts per item. But I did start to put more money into my equipment and my jewels because I just I earned way more money, especially when I started selling off fragments from citadels. I started earning way more credits, so I had way more money to actually spend. And then what I also have on my mapping setup is here a freeze threshold, and what I also have is here stun threshold, so that I don't get stunned and don't get frozen while mapping. And I am working towards, so if I would get another level up, I'm level 91 at the moment, so somehow when I actually rebuilt this, I just stopped dying, and it really went nicely with the leveling up because it was just so strong, and I had also increased the level of maps I was usually running. But this would be the next one, so it would just increase my area of effect again by 15%. This is actually quite nice. So, and what else do I have? I have a little bit of more maximum shield on weapon set 1, and then when I switch to weapon set 2, I don't know why it doesn't let me do it now. Let's try it again. There we go. Look how visual it is. It's actually really well done. And then when we actually swap to weapon set 2, I want... so what happens in weapon set 2 is that my minions, they die. And immediately when I step, because of the corpse weight boots, immediately when I do the step, they will fall down and die and decompose. So it's exactly at this moment that my minions need to have the most HP for this damage to be the most. So what happens is I try to go to weapon set 2 and maximize increased minions life. So there's one which I leveled into with my last level. So there's 2 more which I don't have yet. And then I went down here for these 4. They will also increase by 30 and by 40%, which is actually very nice. So this happens on weapon set 2. My minions will get massive amounts of HP boost. And where else can we get massive amounts of HP boost? Obviously on the helmet. So I have +2 to level of minion skills here. Then I have on the amulet +2 to all minion skills here. And obviously on the scepter we want +4 or +5 even to minion skills. And minions have increased maximum life as much as possible. So we have it on this gear, we have it as much as possible, and on the weapon set 2 as well. So the base damage of the poison is as high as possible. So this is weapon set 2, weapon set 1, where I kind of just optimized everything, and I'm really happy how I got down with everything. So I actually have quite a lot of energy shield to work with, so I don't die as much anymore. And when I swap around to weapon set 1, I actually have a nice set of maximum energy shield, which I also can upgrade here with Grim Feast to double it up. Then I have nearly 5, 6, sometimes 8,000 energy shield. I also have a second setup here, which I sometimes swap around. So when I actually go mapping and don't have to kill bosses, I will actually put in some serious disdain and more rarity of items found, and also the shield for the shield charge. So then I can actually map a little bit faster, because this is the only downside to this build, that it is very, very slow. And then you can actually see that I also have my Chronomancer. I have the temporal rift, so I can actually use my past projections here to also recover life, mana, and you know, everything you need. And you can actually also reposition, so get out of a danger zone. And I can also time freeze, so I can make everything freeze for 3 seconds, which is especially nice against bosses, or like when you get into a tight spot, you can just set up everything. You can change to this setup, do this one, change back to your well, I have my presence of debuffs only on one setup, because obviously I need all the spirit that I can get on my second setup. So yeah, let's go back into what else I did. So I did change all the jewels. I did change a lot of how I set up weapon set 1 and 2, and I maximized all the damage I could get from chaos damage. So I still have a lot of chaos damage here. I actually removed this chaos damage here because I really got annoyed by losing life and energy all the time, especially in tough boss fights. But this is actually really juicy and nice. And you could also get 3 movement speed increased here. So I'm always thinking about getting back into this one somehow. This I still have. This will increase my withered effects. And what else do we have? Yeah, we have around 10 jewel slots here, and these really nice magnitude of poison duration. This one is kind of wasted because we have 100% chance of poison with the gas cloud, but we have this one, reduced poison duration, but target can be affected by +1 of your poisons. This is actually really nice. This one could also be a nice add-up, escalating toxins, and this one, increased magnitude of poison you inflict. So we're trying to increase the damage of each poison as much as possible. And also gear-wise, we also improved quite a bit. So it's the first time that I actually got an ingenuity belt. This one has 72 increased bonuses from rings. And I went and found some breach rings, which no one else wants because they increase chaos damage. And this one had 30% increased chaos damage, and I increased it to 45%. So this one gives me 45% increased chaos damage next, and also a lot of chaos resistance. So this is chaos res is also upgraded with this chaos modifier, which is very nice. And then I also get 39% increased chaos damage on my other breach ring. All in all, this is 45 plus 39, so it's 84, and then times 1.72, which will also net me around 150% more, or not more, but increased chaos damage. So this is also quite a boost to my chaos damage. And then on my other gear, I just went for chaos spell skills and a lot of chaos damage as well, because sometimes I need to kill stuff with my hexblast. So the hexblast will also gain damage as extra fire and increase spell damage. So this is something I need to do sometimes as well, kill stuff with my hexblast. And yeah, that's about it, I think. Let me check really quickly what else we can get into. My skill setup, decompose has comorbidity, bursting plague, deadly poison, and controlled destruction in it. We could pick up another slot here and put something else in it, even more damage with hits, or increase the ailment duration or something like that. Everything works. Then we have temporal rift and time freeze. And yeah, in my setup from the thing that changed the most actually from my Chronomancer skills is that we now use Apex of the moment. Enemies in your presence are slowed by 20%, and this adds up together with blasphemy temporal chains. This is actually quite a lot, and you could go also and increase this by quite a bit. And I actually think about making a build where you go in and kind of slow enemies even further than this. So if you wouldn't put it into blasphemy but just cast it yourself, you would actually increase the effectiveness of these curses, and yeah, increasing, like stacking more effectiveness in the skill tree. This would actually make this curses insane, and stacking temporal chains with the apex of the moment here would actually be, I mean, I think you could probably slow things down to like 80, 90, even maybe 100%. I'm not sure. That would need some testing, but this would actually be kind of insane. And then we have temporal rift and time freeze. Yeah, so this actually changed quite a bit, because as we increase the difficulty, trying to stay alive with this setup was actually increasingly difficult, and I was getting one shot here and there, and that was actually not so much fun. That's why I actually changed around and also went for Atziri's Disdain to gain a way more energy shield. It's one of the classical setups, I believe, how to increase your energy shield quite a lot. But yeah, this is what we did, and this is the actual status. I'm quite happy with it. The Eye of Winter, I'm not sure if I had this in the old setup. Basically, I'm on the bosses, I cast Eye of Winter with Withering Touch and Unleash. So this will cast 3 of the Eyes of Winter. These things that they actually, the Eye of Winter, it will shoot out projectiles, and then each projectile will have a Withering Touch. Which Withering Touch, I increased the effectiveness of Withering Touch as well. So in this skill area here, you can increase the effect 10, 10, 20%. And then the Withering Touch does around, I think, 70 increased damage, something like that. So this is, I only use for bosses, obviously, but Withered on hit, it applies 5% increased chaos damage taken. So yeah, this is also quite nice. And it really helps with the DPS on the bosses. So you saw we could delete the bosses with 400,000 damage per second. I think you could stack even more, but I'm quite happy with it as it is right now. And this will be the last, I think, part of this series where I actually showcase this build. And I will probably focus on other builds now, as this kind of got to the point where it proved that it actually could deal with everything this game throws at you. And yeah, I haven't tested it against even higher tier bosses, but I think this could actually be quite nice. And also I didn't test it on like these super high-end tier 4 simulacrums or anything like that, but I think especially in rituals and breaches, this build is really, really amazing and super fun to play. And yeah, thank you guys for tuning in and watching this. Let me know what you think, what you would like to see in the future. And yeah, give me a follow on the channel if you like this kind of videos, and yeah, see what I do in the future. And thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys soon. Bye bye.